Quiet. Can you hear me back there?
Yep, I can hear everybody in the room, fine.
Okay.
Okay, it's ready to record. Cheryl, you can start the meeting.
Okay, I really can't hear very well. All right, I'll call the meeting to order. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes, or take any suggestions or corrections.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, thank you, Randy. Second,
I'll second them. I'll second it, right?
who was that who seconded, Ray?
Yes, Cheryl, hi.
All right, thanks. All right, all in favor, right?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Next up, audience comments. I guess we didn't get any audience comments or else they would have been somehow transmitted to us, right?
And the public was invited to our meetings now, so.
They had nothing to say for themselves, I see. How about correspondence and announcements, the PACD monthly report? I looked over it, I don't know what's in there that would be germane for us.
No, it's just basically to let us know what that they're getting our dues worth and they're working on things. But yeah, it wasn't anything that we needed to react to.
Thank you.
Okay, so there's nothing that we need to address with that, right?
That's correct, Cheryl.
Okay, all right, well, moving right along. I will entertain a motion to file all bank statements for audit.
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
Randy. Who was that?
It was Frank.
Frank?
Yeah.
All right, good. Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next up. Emergency reviews, motion to approve for deposit the following emergency review fees. Any comments on those? Alrighty, I'll entertain a motion to approve these for both July and August.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you, Randy.
Second.
All right, is that Frank?
Yep.
Oh, all right. Another motion request. We are just moving right along here. Approval to pay, reimburse the Aiden Borough for completion of low volume road project. Okay, I'll make this motion.
A second.
I'll second it.
And Karen, could you just explain that you have met with the low volume road people and what they had to say about the project?
Yes.
Okay, good.
So we finished up this project back in winter sometime. And it took us a little while to work through the completion report and get all that information correct and accurate as far as the project details went. So their grant award amount was for $39,230, and they ended up spending about $35,000. So they came in under the grant award, which means we have approximately $4,000 that we can add back into our budget.
Oh, good.
So their completion request, since we already paid them the 50% advance, is for $16,213.08.
Excellent. And are they happy with the results of their,
They are, and they are
Excellent.
interested in applying for another grant for another project.
excellent.
Yeah.
So once we get these people started on the low volume, we'll get going. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, okay, the checks to be signed would be the Yaden one, right?
Yes, that's correct.
All business. Oh, what about the MOU between the district and county council? Any movement on that one?
I have not heard from Mr. Martin, the solicitor's office on that subject as of yet.
He said he did not hear from the solicitor's office.
Okay, all right. It's harder for us to hear you than for you to hear us, I think, but. So that's it. You're still from the solicitor's office. All right. Next, the Facebook page update. Karen.
So let's see, you could print it out. Should be in the report, the Facebook total likes and follows. We haven't had a big jump in the past 2 months, but we are still getting a good number of responses on our posts, and people are paying attention and sharing. some of the projects and programs that we'll do.
I certainly appreciate that. That's wonderful.
And it's growing slowly, so.
Yeah.
That's what we like to see.
Right. People are attending. Which is most important. I think my All right. So thanks for doing that because it is great to, I just put it on, add it to my Facebook thing or send
I love
people.
it.
It's so easy
Easy to
to
see
find
that,
that,
yep.
exactly.
That's great.
Okay, the Conservation District fee for service schedule. Is any movement on that one, Ed?
Yes, I was working on that this month. I collected all the ordinances or resolutions from around the surrounding counties and started to work on trying to coordinate what we need to throw into ours. The issue of what we need to incorporate into expenses has not quite been finalized. We haven't had our budget meeting yet. That'll be at the end of September. So hopefully everything will fall into line so I can put together a recommendation for the next meeting to have everything included.
So we're getting some movement on this issue. Good.
Ed, can I ask, can you guys hear me? This is Elaine.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hey, everyone. Can you, what counties did you look at for, I mean, just the surrounding southeast, or did you go beyond?
I went beyond only into Lehigh, but then it's Chester, Montgomery, and Bucks County.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah, and once you start getting out into the counties that are different classes of counties, the fees really change. And it's also very important that it changes when, like Berks County, I looked at briefly, in Lehigh, they are in private counties. In other words, they're not in with the county per se, and their fees are a lot higher because they have to make up all their expenses and don't have any as much county support as they do. So that is an important factor why their fees are higher. But
Thanks.
Okay, did you check what, you didn't check York County, right?
excuse me,
York County? No?
York. I did look at York a little bit. I got some ideas from York.
Right. It's
And,
just that I heard from friends there, and apparently they're having a big problem with spotted lanternfly this year that they hadn't been before. So I was wondering what they're doing with other things. That was all. They made me aware of their government. That was all.
Yep.
Okay, next up, the county MS4 permit activities.
Yeah, just to let you know that we have to do our annual report this month by September 30th. It's due into the regional office. In addition to that, we're working on several projects. One, as Karen and I are trying to coordinate doing some work at Smedley Park. They have a water quality basin that needs some work. So we're trying to figure out the way to get pricing. And we talked to the dirt and gravel and low volume road program people about applying for a project to do the work at that water quality basin. And we just having a little bit of trouble trying to figure out how to estimate how much it's going to cost. Because what we have with it, we went out there during the last flooding event from the hurricane remnant, and there's no outlet to the basin. And even what I thought was a spillway through the trench grate on the road wasn't installed according to plan. So the outlet was destroyed by sedimentation, and also we had a problem with four-wheel trucks, the big ones, trying to use it as a mudding hole, and they ran over everything. So we're going to have to improve on that as well. Fix it. So that's one of the things we're working on with MS4 program. But we also have to do the quarterly report, and it usually takes about a week of our time to be able to finalize that.
Is there any monitoring that goes on there so that, I mean, are these are not trucks that are supposed to be there, are they?
In that basin, no, that was just some people that violated the park and broke the rules. And
Right, and there's no monitoring of that, right?
No, it's way back in the back of Smedley Park next to the soccer field.
That's a shame. Can't be everywhere, right?
Correct. Well, we were thinking about putting in some rocks or some Norm, the supervisor, was talking about putting in some guardrails or something to prevent that, or limit,
Yes,
or just reduce it. So we'll see what we can do with that.
I think that's a good idea, some kind of prevention. Well, thanks. Okay, next up is Haverford Multifunction Buffer Grant. All right, Karen, tell us what this is about.
Yeah, so we applied for a grant, the DCNR grant through the PA Association of Conservation Districts to do a multifunctional buffer planting at, I think it's two parks in Haverford Township. One is at Powder Mill Park and another is at the Haverford Reserve. And the purpose of the multifunctional buffer is that it acts primarily as a riparian buffer, but it also allows some profitability from the harvest. You know, there's berry trees or nut trees that can be produced as a result of the project. So they're putting in, that was awarded, I think, in the past month or two. So it was awarded to us and we'll be working with them on those projects. The grant, I believe, was for about $9,600, so just under $10,000, plus a lot of their labor match.
Right, the township did the labor match.
Correct, yeah.
Excellent. Okay. All right, new business, the ag preservation inspections.
Yes, I wanted to update the board. We were out to, I did an inspection of both Slayton School and of Arisapa Farm, and also met with Mr. Molinera, who you'll see on the screen there. He is with the solicitor's office, and we went over some of the findings that we found. And Mr. Molinera, would you like to say anything?
Well, I think since it involves Mr. Bates, you probably want to have a conversation in a separate forum. The only thing I would say is that I don't think anything that you would tell us Mr. Bates isn't aware of already. So going forward, I would think that maybe you would have a smaller conference or something else that wouldn't involve Mr. Bates, and then we could bring Mr. Bates in after your board, with Mr. Bates abstaining, obviously, having an opinion as to how to proceed thereafter.
Okay, very good. So
So
in other words, there's some issues that are, we talked about it in the length about gray areas that we're trying to get answers for and trying to understand what's regulated by the state and what is not, and who is in charge of enforcing it and who is not. We've gotten different answers from the Department of Agriculture. Mr. Wolfgang is now the director of farmland preservation. So we want to try to iron those things out. So I don't know that the board needs to be involved. I think we can do it between what the solicitor's office and myself can do, and then we can bring the recommendations to the board. But the board, really, it's a county council thing at this point, I think, really.
Okay, so Ed, would you like to, let's say I'll stop by your office again and we'll go over what I researched concerning the agreement, the restrictions, and the two applicable statutes?
Yes, that would probably be the best way to handle it at this point. And I can modify the inspection reports according to what you find out and what you determine.
Would you want me to attend that meeting?
I think after that, after we finalize it, I think is what Mr. Molinaro is saying, that we will finalize the inspection report and then and send it to you, like I said, at the site.
Yeah, Randy, even though you're a board member, you still have, the farm there. I think you're entitled to it as if another person had owned the property. So I think the best thing is probably, let myself and Ed speak. Ed, I can stop by tomorrow if you like. And then and then you guys can get together with Randy and possibly the next board meeting you can present. Maybe we can do both, even Slayton School, because I know there's some issues with Slayton as well.
Yes, very good.
And thank you for inviting me, by the way. Nice meeting everybody.
Nice to see you. All right, so that's an ongoing thing, right?
Yes, it is.
All right. Well, I do wish I knew what you were talking about. This is kind of mysterious, and you're just kind of. Okay. Next up is the approval of the 2021-2022 Ag Tech Assistance Agreement with the Department of Agriculture.
Cheryl,
Yes,
sorry, Frank McKee here. I'd like to ask a question if I may. I'm caught a bit off guard by the previous conversation dealing with one of our board members and an attorney, and I'm not sure exactly what it is we're talking about and doing. I feel like a Kennett Square mushroom at this point.
I think that we all do.
So can we be enlightened a little bit? I mean,
What is the issue?
Randy's a friend, a fellow board member, and I feel completely blindsided by this conversation.
Okay, so what we're talking about is the, back in 1993, Mrs. Bates, Ann Bates, sold the
Our
development.
former chairperson.
Yeah,
Yes,
1993, sold the development rights for the farm. And we're supposed to do, every other year, do follow-up inspections to make sure that the terms of the easement are being followed. We have done that from the beginning and went over some issues, and then some issues don't go away. Some issues you try to figure out what to do. The one minor one here was about conservation plan needs to be updated. And we've agreed that that needs to be done before, after the crops are off this year, and the Soil Conservation Service can do that work.
All right, so we're simply talking about reviews that had to do with a previous sale of development rights by Ann Bates.
That's correct.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
Yeah, and then it's like a gray area on what can be done on farms and what cannot be done on farms. And we don't get clear guidance necessarily from the state. And so that's what the solicitor's office is going to be looking into.
Okay, very good. Thank you for the explanation.
And Frank, just so you know, I'm absolutely not here as an adversary. I'm here just to interpret what the statute says with the deed restriction concerning the agricultural easement states.
Okay.
And then Ed's inspection report coupled with that knowledge, we can come up with a plan for the future as to the use of the property.
All right, great. Thank you, Michael, for that explanation. I've been on this board, I think, for pushing 30 years, and we've never had an attorney on at one of our meetings. So I was kind of taken aback.
Well, I'm from the solicitor's office from Delaware County, so we're on the same.
I understand. Thank you.
You're welcome.
yes, thank you. And thanks for asking the question. We were all saying here that we felt kind of like left in the dark. So this is good that you brought it forward.
Great,
Right,
thanks.
thank you.
Sorry to interrupt.
That's all right. So this is essentially about compliance. All right. Next up, the spotted lantern grant approval. So what's happening, Karen?
So we submitted, I believe we talked about this at the last board meeting. I wasn't here, so I think Ed explained that we wanted to purchase spotted lanternfly traps to distribute to any interested municipalities who want to set them up in their parks as demonstration. So we received the approval for that grant. And since it's a little later in the season than we were hoping, we did talk to the Department of Agriculture to see if we could order things and, spend grant monies before the agreement was signed. And they said that would be okay, since the grant period is from July until May of next year. So all of these boxes just they arrived. All these boxes arrived today, about a month earlier than we were expecting, which is awesome because that gives us time to set up the traps while the spotted lanternflies are still out. So we have to coordinate getting these out to those municipalities. We distributed spotted lanternfly handouts to the Delaware County libraries. So they'll be distributing those through their system. And that's all part of this grant. And I do have the grant agreement here to be signed by you, Cheryl.
Okay.
So can you pass this around? And there's 2 tabs that say.
I know you always have it so nicely, so I know what I'm doing.
There's a lot of pages, so I figured that would be helpful.
Thank you.
And the grant amount is for, I believe it's for 7,000, maybe 500 some, it's listed right on there. But if these traps came in a month later, like we were expecting, that would be right when the lanternflies start to die off.
Yeah,
It wouldn't have been as effective, but
so now you're early enough to make it worthwhile, right?
there are 350 circle traps,
Here.
and we were expecting the boxes to be a lot smaller too.
Could we see one of those boxes?
What's that?
He wants to see one of the boxes.
Sure.
They're very big.
They're very light.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
So you guys didn't have to wrestle with that, huh?
Well, there is one that's open. So it's scissor on them.
Ah. Yeah, that's what I was just gonna do. Next. There we go.
All right.
All right.
You see what's
So
inside?
the
So
netting,
Now you have to move over to the left. There you go.
we can't see whether you can see it or not.
I see the cardboard box.
okay, so the traps look like this. And this part here attaches to the tree. And then you open it up and you wrap the bottom around the tree. And it's shaped like an upside down funnel. So the spotted lanternflies tend to crawl up the trees. And they go up through here and we'll attach a bag where they crawl in and they fall and they die. Yay!
What was that?
That's great, thank you.
Yeah,
You're
we
welcome.
received 50 of these free bags. We've been giving those out, and we've been also, Karen has set them up with some of the friends groups in the park, at Glen Providence, Kent Park, Smedley Park, and at Clayton Park. And
Great. At least now we know what they are if we see them out in the park.
Yes.
and Rose Street Park, I'm
How
sorry.
many are there altogether?
There are 350 traps. We asked the municipalities, we sent out an email blast asking if they wanted any. And we got a total of 11 municipalities requesting traps, anywhere from 5 traps to 50 traps. So we ordered 270, or I'm sorry, they requested 275 total. And we ordered an extra 75 for anyone else, any stragglers who requested later on.
Excellent.
They run about $18 a piece, so they're not cheap, but they're a proprietary item. And we have sticky bands too, but we're not promoting the sticky bands since it got a lot of public opposition to bycatch. But they are very effective, and we used them last year in the parks with netting over top of it to prevent that bycatch, and we were very successful with those as well.
Excellent. Yes, I remember last year's little things over the top of the,
Yes.
which is really a good idea.
Yeah, it seemed to work well.
Mhm.
It did, yeah. Surprisingly, we didn't catch anything other than.
Yeah, which is excellent. Because you don't want to antagonize people and have them think you're doing something wrong.
Exactly. Not easy.
Excellent. Well, this is wonderful. And you have a group of people who are, oh no, I guess each township's gonna have to find their people to,
We're gonna have
Distribute
a pickup window so
Uh-huh.
people can come by and pick them up and we won't have.
now,
to-
are they relatively self-explanatory? Are there directions in there?
There's directions, but we'll probably provide separate directions and we also have to go out and purchase things to secure it to the tree because these don't come with like thumbtacks or twine.
Right.
So we have to get those separately and that's included in the grant too.
And Karen, you want to just discuss the other project part of that we had funding for in the library?
Yeah, I said, that we distributed, spotted lanternfly management manuals. They're, pretty substantial booklets.
Mhm.
So we gave those out to the libraries and we ordered those through Penn State Extension at no cost. But we did have to pay shipping.
Mhm.
So it's a great resource. You
Right,
can order them
exactly.
And then just,
Yeah,
yeah, they came the next day.
all right.
So it was nice. Yeah. And we
Just
still
like
have it.
Amazon.
Yeah.
So that's great. So the information's out there.
Mhm.
The devices are going to be out there.
Yeah.
You're installing it this year. Will they remain up this year
They
throughout the
can,
winter?
yeah, so you can keep the lanternfly traps up throughout the winter. We recommend taking the bags off because they catch wind, and during the winter, if no one's monitoring them, they could pull around and break or get ruined. So I guess it's up to the municipalities if they want to keep it attached to the tree or take it down, but they can stay up.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
It's good to know. Thanks, Karen.
Mhm.
I'm glad that got done.
Me too.
Are the bags replaceable?
They are, yeah. Yeah, so the bags are attached by zip ties and they're the removable zip ties. So you can take the zip ties off, tie up the
Good question.
dirty bags and throw them away and replace them
Mhm.
with new ones.
Hey Karen, have there been reports of damage from spotted lanternflies this year?
Not as much. We haven't seen as many spotted lanternflies and everyone across the board is saying the same thing. They're still a nuisance, but they're not nearly as bad as last year.
Right.
Yeah, thank goodness.
That's what I was saying. I spoke to a friend in York County where they didn't have that much trouble last year, and now he has a lot of trouble.
Oh, wow.
So I wonder what, where they're moving to.
Yeah, they did add more counties to the quarantine, so,
Yeah.
but it's, if they find one in one town in one county, that counts as a quarantine
Yeah,
area.
right, exactly.
Well, when Karen goes out to fix the one here at Rose Tree Park, she still has to wear a raincoat so she doesn't get the honey dripping all over her. So
Oh, really?
they're still prevalent, and the traps are catching quite a few of them, even though we had done the treatment on them last year too with the insecticide. So in the park, so they aren't gone away. I don't know where there might be more prevalent in the county right now.
Right. Let's hope they stay away.
I hope so.
Yeah. All right, next up is Conservation District Director, term expiring this year. Whose term's expiring?
We have Frank's term and Steve Beckley. And I reached out to Frank and to Steve. Steve is willing to be renominated, so those letters are going to go out very soon. Frank is elected to step down, and I really, yeah.
Where's our sense of history?
Well, it's been a real pleasure, but I live outside the county, and most of the winter I'm down in Florida, and I think that it's appropriate that you all find somebody that could easily take my place. So it's been a real pleasure, Ed, working with you and everyone. I go back to the day when Sheriff Taylor was part of our board, and your mom, Ann Bates, and we really have had a wonderful group of people, and hopefully we've made a difference over the years. So thank you for the opportunity.
You certainly have made a difference for us, so thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
But you're staying with us. You're
Yes,
stuck with
yes.
us, right? Exactly.
I'll accept the nomination.
Excellent. All right, next up, the status of the
Wait,
audit.
Cheryl, can I ask a question about that? Ed, is that something that you want, like the council and county to put out there, or do we recruit through our community groups?
Usually
we have
we're, Evelyn,
13 nominating organizations that we have to send out the request to. Those nominating organizations can submit names of people, then we submit them to county council for their action. Publicly. So it always goes through the county clerk's office and Coogan. But we have to send out the letters to the nominating organizations. And I've been doing that for the last 20 years on her behalf. Because it is a complicated procedure.
Mhm. So if somebody was interested in being on this board, they could reach out to one of those nominating organizations and ask to be put forward?
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Linda, you want to chime in on that as well? You,
Sure, yeah, I was gonna ask if you guys were comfortable with the process. So the one thing that I was gonna say, so Steve, if you would reach out to your nominating organization and then they would submit a letter of recommendation to the county, and then it would go to the county commissioners or county council meeting for approval. And then that's when it goes out to the State Conservation Commission as an acknowledgement. So there's a whole set of papers, forms that would be applicable for. So if you're comfortable, are you good with that process? Do you
Well,
need-
I will just say this, we're trying very, very hard across the government, every board, to increase diversity in geography, in demographics, and really get a accurate reflection of our county on all of our governing boards, or on all of our advisory boards. So to the extent we can, recruit or find some, representation that we haven't had on this board before, and if we can find people who are interested, they could, we would, match make with a nominating organization, I guess.
That's great. That's a conversation, actually, Elaine, that's happening at numerous districts, and it's so refreshing. So, good luck with that. And if anybody, because you have to have the interest as well. So hopefully there's interest in that regard. But if you need any help, or if your county clerk needs any help with the process, I mean, I'm sure Ed totally knows the whole process, but I'm also available. So if the county clerk hasn't gone through a change lately, or if one of the nominating organizations isn't as familiar, or if there's a new nominating organization, any nominating organization has to be approved by the State Conservation Commission. But at any way along the way, if county council or anybody has any questions about that, I'm certainly here to help with that process.
and it's been done before, where nominations were suggested by county council, and normally they would work through the Chamber of Commerce, and the Chamber of Commerce would nominate. Yeah, so.
And my last question is, does this seat need to represent any sector, or?
This time we have the advantage that both are public members.
Okay.
You've struggled with the farmer.
Right, exactly, we always struggle with farmer.
I'm not even sure I'm aware of the nominating organization who originally nominated me.
Chamber of Commerce, Steve.
What did you say?
Chamber of Commerce, probably, right?
Okay, that does sound a little familiar, but I wasn't sure.
So I'm going to suggest that we post this on our, for like we post all of the board positions. And if people come forward who aren't affiliated with a nominating organization, we will make that introduction.
Sounds good.
Okay, good. Excellent, thanks for that, Elaine. Alrighty. So next up, now, status of the 2020 audit. What's up, Ed?
Yeah, we were working with the controller's office, and they had a person that was in charge of audits, and evidently she went out on medical leave, and so they were a little short-staffed to be able to handle bids for audits. So I was contacted by them and asked them whether I should go ahead with the auditor that we used last year, who sent us a engagement agreement, and they said yes, because they would not have time to do the bids this year. Hopefully they'll get to it next year. So that's what we did. We signed an agreement with Christopher Reynolds to complete the audit.
Very good. So that's solved now. All right. Number two. Approval of AG Tech Assistance Agreement? Yeah, so weird. Apparently I skipped number two. I put a check there and I didn't need to. The approval of the 2021-2022 Ag Tech Assistance Agreement.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Cheryl, for not catching that. What we did,
I didn't do it.
we have agreement with Chester County to provide agricultural technical services to our farmers when they come up. And that's been very helpful in the past year. We've had nutrient management plans that needed to be done. We had a controversial case on Bridge Road, which the Chester County helped us with, and several others. So we get $3,000 towards that, and the board has also agreed to match that if we go over it. We've went over it this year for the first time in the last 5 years that we've been doing it. So we're over 3,000 now that we've been reimbursing Chester County from in-house of money. But the $3,000 comes from the Department of Ag initially.
Okay. That's it, right?
No, we just need to get a signature on that, and I have it here, so I will have Gina come get it and get it signed before the end of.
Okay,
Before you leave, Cheryl, please.
okay.
And for those that don't know, the reason I'm separate in the meeting is that I was in a meeting that had someone had contracted COVID and tested positive. So in an abundance of caution, I don't have any symptoms, but I did get tested and was negative. And could go ahead and do it, but I'd rather wait for the PCR test before I mingle with too many people. So that's why I'm in the office and on virtual at this time.
We appreciate your consideration. Thank you. Speaking for myself.
Oh, yeah.
All righty. Okay, next up, report from cooperating agencies. Now Beth here today. Is there a report from Beth in here?
She did not send a report.
Okay, all right. So now we're with Linda.
I don't have anything to add to my report. I was going to touch on the director nominations. So, other than that, if you have questions on my report, let me see if there's anything to highlight. I know the management summit is right around the corner. That's next week. We're starting to have conversations about the staff conference that's usually in February, I think. So we're starting to have conversations about that. And then the fall training, those are virtual, but the training with central office and regional office programmatic staff, that's coming up. So there's a lot going on in terms of trainings and workshops, but I don't have anything
Looks like there's a lot of dates to remember here.
There's a lot.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Things did not slow down.
No, everything's virtual pretty much, now, right?
And people have actually been able to do more.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
Less travel time for one,
Yeah.
right?
absolutely. Yeah. So, but certainly ask me any questions about my report if you have any.
And otherwise, we know how to get in touch with you.
Yes.
Mhm.
Thank you.
All righty, next up is Ed's report.
You have a copy of that now. I sent it late. With the COVID thing, I was coordinating with the county on Friday to get we have I don't know the exact title, but it's a person that coordinated rapid response for county issues. So that was taking place on Friday, and I didn't get my report done. I did finish it today, so it's been sent out to everybody, and it combined for the month of July and August. And I updated the cell phone policy that the directors approved at the last meeting, which increased it from $15 a month to $30 a month reimbursement for field staff. The 2022 was coordinated with Francine office, and our budget submission, so our budget request has been submitted on time, and we have a meeting coming up towards the end of September with Mr. Lashley. All the quarterly reports have been filed on Greenport, and those are up to date now.
And it needs to be corrected, so never really go to
I
any.
hear creepy. Trying to think what else. We had several meetings on ENS and on various meetings, but the biggest one we had was the regional office of DEP had a public meeting on Darby Creek flooding issues. So we went to there with the DEP to listen to some issues that they've had. Darby Creek had a issue that it does a right turn, and there was a debris barrier that blocked up some of the stream, and Upper Darby cleaned it out, but they put it in the floodplain. So DEP, the people were concerned that it would just flood in the next flood event would just wash down back into the flood. That was one issue. They have a problem with Rolling Green Golf Course that involved removal of lots of trees, and they estimated over 350 trees in the last 5 years, and they think that has led to more runoff problems. The other issue was Idle Hour Tennis Club did some modifications and repairs to a levee that surrounds that floodplain, and they were saying that may have led to additional flooding on the neighboring properties in Springfield. We have since had a meeting with DEP and Upper Darby Township and the people of Idle Hour Tennis Club. They are going to be required to submit a GP11 and do a hydraulic study to explain what that dike was or that levee, what the height was prior to the repairs, and then after the repairs, and do an as-built survey. And then DEP will do that review to find out, make a determination. It appears that some of the work was done on Upper Darby's property, but it's not clear exactly how much yet, because the gabions that are the bulk of the work is right up against the tennis court fences. So if the work is mainly in the flood plain, then Upper Darby was correct in just issuing the permit. If the work was done in Upper Darby's floodplain and in Upper Darby's property, it should have obtained a 106 permit. So that's one of the things that's going to be reviewed as well. So that was a big meeting, and lots of concern on that issue. Brought out maybe 30 or 40 people from the public that had these concerns, and hopefully it seems to involve some of the legislators in that area as well. The other big project that we had 2 meetings on with pre-application is it's called 10th and Penn in Marcus Hook. It's the old Visco's property. There's some contamination on that site, but they're trying to go through with a new development on that site finally. So we've worked through most of the problems and solutions to how we're going to handle the permitting, but that's good to see that project finally getting off the ground, because it's been tried and tried again, but it has not been successful. That's all I have to report. If anybody has any questions.
Okay, Ted. This property at 10th and Penn has been around forever, right? It's been quite all this time. Now they're going to build on it?
Yeah, they demolished part of it already, so part of it's still there. I think that at one time the Economic Development Council was trying to do some type of business incubator, and that didn't work out, I don't think. And the contamination was always a problem. So at a minimum, hopefully we'll get that cleaned up, the contamination that is on site.
Right. So it needs remediation, and you're hoping to get it, right?
That's correct.
All right. Okay. All righty, thanks, Ed. Next up is Michelle. There she is hiding back there.
So the only thing I wanted to report for July and August is something that took a little bit of time, but all the technicians, we worked on updating the active individual MPDS permit list, which the regional office provided to us. So we had an individual MPDS permits current back to over 10 years ago. So we provided that information to them, so they'll start charging an annual fee for the individual permits. So we haven't seen anything official come out. I'm sure when it does, we will receive many questions.
Right, I have to do with this.
Right, so it'll be part 2 of this project at that point.
Probably more NOTs.
Right, yeah. So, yeah, we're hoping it will generate more NOTs, so we'll be busy on that end, but that's a good thing.
Yes, it is.
And that will also free up shelf space as well. Yeah. And that's all I have to report unless anybody has questions.
Oh, no, that's good, thank you.
You're welcome.
And can I just, that was not, if you're like most districts, that was not a small task.
Mhm.
That's really,
Yes.
that was a lot.
Housekeeping is
Yeah.
another thing.
So I'm sure you guys were busy with that.
Right. Excellent. And Connor's not here today,
Correct. Yeah,
Been on vacation again.
you can say something.
He's on a sick day today. He had
I think it's
an
important.
accident, and
Tell me about the
fell down a mountainside.
message.
His report.
Yeah, I think it's on yours too, isn't it? It's on some of yours.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was a
okay.
webinar that we had.
It's all right.
So what is organic
I mean,
organism passage?
it basically was trying to detail how animals would pass through the culverts that are being installed, and more creature friendly, ways in order to do that.
Mhm.
I don't really think it really just kind of went over what's going through our streams, and like the present conditions, and then proposed solutions to that. It was been so long, I can't really remember any key details to it. But it was enlightening to see that these are things that we're still continually working on.
Yes.
And, I don't think people really think of when they're installing a culvert, like if there's a fish in that stream existing, how is it getting from one side to the other?
Right, exactly.
So it
Because
was,
a lot of these culverts, we get to the middle of it and there's no more water anymore.
yeah.
Right. So good. Oh, I just thought I'd ask that question. And now you can actually, your report then.
Okay, yeah, I mean, really, the only thing that I want to report on, and kind of building off of what Michelle was talking about, is I've been going after a lot of these NPDES permits that have been expired for a while now, sending them letters saying, hey, your permit's expired. If you're finished with your work, please submit an NOT. A great deal of those have not gotten back to me. But there's been a few that reached out to me and said that no work has been started at all. And Ed actually brought up from a manager's meeting that another county investigated on Google Earth, checked to see if there was any evidence of earth disturbance, and reached out to the municipalities and verified with them that they had never been contacted for any of the disturbance activities. So that's currently what I've been working on. One project with Eastern University, I reached out to their municipalities. So really it's a waiting game at this point, waiting for people to get back to me, and then just continue to ask like, hey, what's going on?
Right.
So yeah, that's basically it.
So you have to kind of nag them, right?
Yeah,
That's good.
I'll do it.
Work, yeah, that's good. That's good. I'm glad you're doing that.
I closed one so far from that list, and then I should close another one. We just got the NOT, an electronic version of the NOT for the Rocky Run YMCA. So I'm gonna review that, and hopefully that can be closed as well, so we can knock another one off the list.
Right. So it doesn't come easy, does it?
No, it's slow going, but at least it's going.
Right, exactly. Thanks for doing it.
Yeah.
And a lot of you haven't seen the office. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
A lot of you haven't seen the office, so you haven't seen the pile of boxes we have with all the plans. So it is a priority to try to clean out these files so we get rid of this overabundance of paperwork. The e-permitting that's going to help with this eventually hasn't been a real boom for us yet because we have not had an application. So surrounding counties have only had one or so, two as well. So it's not really taken off that fast. So hopefully when e-permitting takes off, we can cut down on this overload of paperwork that we have in the office.
That'll be a good thing, huh?
Definitely.
Clear out the office, make it all breezy, it'll be lovely.
Or airflow.
Yeah, right. Better, right. Okay, thank you. Next up, Karen?
So I have two reports, one from July and then one from August. I just wanted to highlight a couple things from each of those. So for our MS4 permit, we finished up providing maintenance recommendations to the Parks Department for those outfalls that we inspected the month prior. So we sent those to our Parks Department. We also worked with the Planning Department to put together an MS4 map for the Chester Creek Trail. So we now have a map that shows all the features of the stormwater structures for the Chester Creek Trail, which is exciting.
Yes.
We have been working with our Tree Vitalize project grantees on their projects. They have lots of questions this year, so but all of them are moving forward pretty smoothly, which is good. In August, I had two representatives from the low volume road program. I requested that they come down and do kind of a mock quality assurance, quality control visit. So these are visits that they do on a regular with other districts. I think it's every couple of years, but since we're new, we haven't had an official visit yet. But I wanted to make sure that we were on the right track, that our projects look good, that our policies look good, that we're maintaining all the proper records. So they came down for the morning. It was just a morning visit. Yeah, we visited two of our project sites. One, we visited Eden's completed project and they said it looks good. And then we went to our other proposed project site in Milburn Borough. So that one hopefully will be completed in the fall along with the other two projects that we have. Yeah, so that went well. All our policies look good and we're maintaining all the right records, so we're on the right track with that program.
They're a wealth of information, so
They-
they would tell you,
Yeah.
they're very pleasant
Yeah.
and supportive, but they won't beat around the bush, right? They have a recommendation, they'll tell you.
Yeah,
So
and that's why I wanted them to
Yeah.
come
Because there could be
down.
things that you could rectify easily or highlight the next time. right?
Exactly, especially as we're getting started, just want to make sure that, you know, there's not one thing that we're consistently doing wrong or that, you know, we could do better.
Question for you. Question.
We're doing just,
Hello.
Yeah.
I think we have a question.
okay.
Question. Hey, the projects that you were just talking about, would you be interested in sharing with the Sustainability Commission at our upcoming meetings more details about them?
Yeah, I
The
can
tree-
do
the tree
that. We do only have one completed project right now, so I really only have before and after pictures for one. And while it was a really good project, it was a very simple project. Some of the other ones, if you would be willing to wait for a future meeting, I know one of them will be installing like pervious pavement. Another one's gonna have perforated piping and river rock and, you know, a bunch of different more visible features, so. I'd be
Yeah.
happy to do, you know, now and then and. we can-
Yeah, think about like when you'd want to do it, and it would be great for you to share with the Sustainability Commission that good work.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy
Thank
to.
you. Thank you.
Good connection, thanks.
So that's all I have to share unless anyone has any questions.
Any
Yeah,
questions?
Karen, did I miss it, Karen? Did I miss the, I thought the really unique project that you were working on was with Clayton Park in the pond?
Oh, yeah. So we had a fun week last week before the hurricane. So I went out there to check on spotted lanternfly traps, maybe 2 weeks ago. But we had also received a complaint from the Parks Department about an overabundance of small snails in the pond, and it was clogging up irrigation systems in their fountain. So we did some research, and one of the solutions was to put lettuce in the pond to attract the snails, but that seemed like it would be ineffective. So we did some more research, and one of the most effective things might be to draw down the entire pond and drain it, and that seemed a little overzealous.
Yes.
So the other solution that we ended up going with was purchasing sunfish, sunnies and, catfish. And they feed on snails.
Okay, good.
So we stocked the pond. We did our research with the Fish and Boat Commission and we didn't see anything about permits that were needed for it. And since the pond is not flowing water, it was, and we were stocking it with native fish. It wasn't a problem and we purchased them through the Parks Department from a fishery, in Elverson.
Very nice.
Yeah, so those fish are in there and they're a little small right now, but hopefully they'll get bigger and reproduce and take care of the snail problem.
Excellent. Oh, you can eat catfish.
Yeah.
That's really cute.
Yeah, so we hope that works.
Great, sounds like a great idea.
Snails with shells.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're very brittle shells, but they're still causing a problem. They're very small snails, so they get in those nooks and crannies of their system.
Right, exactly. Huh. We had a thing in our neighborhood of snakes.
Oh, that's right, I remember, yeah.
What? You know, the neighbor across the street had a bunch of snakes in their yard. It's like, where did these come from?
Right.
And I haven't seen any since. But something like that too, like all of a sudden, something just happens.
Yeah.
It's like a snail. Yeah, right, exactly. That's strange. So thanks for that, saving the day. Oh, excellent.
Well, we'll see.
Yes, indeed. Alrighty, so now the erosion sediment control plans are your package. And other than that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn, like reminding you that our next meeting is October 5th. Ready? Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All right. And we'll start, will Frank still be coming until we find somebody to replace him?
Yeah, I've already asked Frank if he would stay on until the replacement in case it runs late, but he is on to the end of the year as his term expires December 31st of this year.
Oh, okay. We'll have a Christmas party for you. There we go.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody. See you later.
Buddy, thanks.
I'm sure. Thanks for attending, everyone.
See you too.
Just thought that we had a car for one.
Yeah.
I'll be right back. Okay.